How's that?
Species with blackbird sitting on the fence. Got fix the sounds, but it don't look too good. Don't look too good to me. You know I've been waiting down the wall. Oh, gotta wash out. Swell blackbirds flying through the sky. 6 years I'm still out there. My buddies don't come on. Don't just be.
So if you're starting with this video in Blackboard, you can go ahead and jump 6 minutes. That's when we start class. Start late at 3 o'clock.
Over 20 blackbirds grown up.
Right back.
For 20 years now, now, girl, from the dawn up to come on. Don't to the burning. Never seems to satisfy me. Twenty down, 20 man, just walking on the rail. I just barely have to change, but it don't come out too good to me. Oh my God, oh, but it never seems satisfied. 20 back from grown up wild. For 20 years that I've been caught up in the side, but it's all up to my God. Good for me.
Cheryl. Hey, she's on vacation and lost in the moment. Unfortunately, so is her Chase debit card.
It's gotta be somewhere.
Maybe she lost it at salsa night.
He searched it on purpose.
Or maybe she lost it at Pilates.
3, 2.
But she's not worried. With the Chase mobile app, she can lock her card till it turns up. Tools that help protect. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank NA.
Let's see. Which song? Dangerous Mood. That's a good song. That's words.
Got me.
2 more minutes.
Yeah.
You know, somebody was asking you about people in the field when you're over here on the screen.
I think what it was is I
Can you
think,
move that?
yeah.
So where's the,
Right now the camera's over there.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, because it shows if you'd move it this way just a little bit, it'd probably show you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that
see,
would
then-
be- I think.
If I zoom out a little, but then that's what I was kind of trying to say. When I was in there, I was like, if I zoom out too much, what happens? You can see me a little bit more,
So we're,
but then that starts to disappear a little bit.
so
I think what
it
was
seems like you need to move it the other way.
Yeah. Well, I don't like the infinity thing going on right here, where it's like, yeah, how many of there are, you know, that kind of thing.
But-
But
So they can't see that if you move it over this way.
Well, they could see, I think what happened there was, I think it was actually, had to deal with remake kind of things, that kind of thing. But I try to stay visible. I figure I'm actually of less consequence in here than this thing. So, that kind of thing. Like down here, I'm just more of a vehicle, I guess. I'll just move some things around, but.
I don't know if there's any way around that if that board only shows up, because I've never been on Zoom before, so I don't know.
Well, I think what should happen is they should see a screen something like ours where it looks like if I share my screen, I become that tiny little thing. So you can see this right here, and then I'd just be this little thing in their screen. And if I remember how it records it, or it posts up in the Blackboard, what'll happen is it'll have this screen. Or if I've got it set where I'm gonna spotlight whoever's talking, pop up there. But I don't know. Care about that. Get that off of there. Okay. This. We can stop here. Stop this. Since it is now officially 1 o'clock, let's hop over here into evidence and see what's here. I'll point that out to you guys real quick. I need to pop out. I'll show you guys online, wherever that went. Right. Okay. Share screen. Yes. Okay. So you can see right here, I popped in at least that first class video that should take you to it. It seems to be working. And whenever you get into it, it should look like, yeah, like I'm up in the corner. And that's why I spotlight myself. It is, don't get me wrong, it is because I do want to be the center of attention sometimes, but no, that's why I keep, like if anybody else has got their stuff come up, I have a thing about where I don't like to get in people's personal spaces kind of thing. That's why I also tell you, it's like, I don't care if you turn on the camera or not. When you're wherever you're at, it's like, you're here, yeah, but you're also wherever you're at, and that's your own business. You don't necessarily need to show me that as long as you know, pay attention, engage with the ideas, that kind of thing. That's mainly because of COVID. You know, horror stories there, like I forget what state it was. They started doing some of those Zoom kind of classes there, and you had someone who saw something in the background that they didn't understand, and the next thing you know, some family's getting raided because of a BB gun in the background. It's like, yeah, let's not do that kind of stuff. I don't like that. So, where is this at? There we go. All right, so we need to talk about that. And there's no longer 2 minutes now. So let's pull up some chapter stuff, see what they talk about, and so I can break it open. Let's see here. I wanted to start out with history stuff, but I have not had time to sit down with my old notes to see where I stuck that, because there's a whole bunch of stuff I want to talk to you about in particular order. So before I get into that, let's just see what the book starts with. Yeah, it's going to start with history, law, Magna Carta, that kind of thing. So we talked about some of that to some degree. We'll go ahead and download that. Yeah, whatever. Crack that open. I don't know if I've put PowerPoint in there. Let's see what that looks like. I don't remember. Development history. Yeah. Okay, so that's some of the stuff we need to talk about. I might use that. I might bounce back and forth between the two. Because yeah, here's what I'll actually get into when we talk about it a little bit more. So there's a lot to talk about in terms of evidence. Basically what it is there's a few things I want to talk about. I might jump back to courtroom actors real quick because there's one element there I do need to hit with you guys as of particular importance for this. This is evidence. What is evidence? You're just looking at it like, evidence as a thing. Yeah. What is it? You're like, okay, this is a piece of evidence right here. Whatever. Right?
Something that proves innocence or guilt.
There you go. It's proof. Trying to establish proof. Right? Is it real? Hit it. That kind of thing. You go smacking off and stuff and realize it's real fast. That's kind of how I like to do things with a bit of way anymore. Yep, mystery deal. I love it. Right? I like that as a kind of a good parallel for some of this stuff because he couldn't see very well. Sometimes we can't see very well, particularly with this stuff because it is very, very complex. It does stack up so very, very quickly. As we start talking about that, history. History is a very, 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 very important thing because we don't need to go back and relearn lessons we've already learned throughout history. I'm Unfortunately, it is one of those things that people don't learn history very well and they forget the lessons there a lot. That's because everything's really complex and there's way too much stuff to handle. If you want me to really go into that, I'd probably talk to you about human perception a little bit and just be like, okay, realize that there's everything in the room right now. There's only a few things you can pay attention to, and even the stuff you're paying attention to doesn't actually get in all the way. You have to really force it, right? That's why it's so hard to pay attention. So we're gonna get proof. Got a lot to prove. We're getting history. We're going back in the courtroom actors, because you're gonna see why it's so important to prove it. Okay. Courtroom actors, they were again what?
Prosecution.
Okay. The prosecution and the defense. Right? Okay, what else? Witnesses. They're going to become very important things as we move forward. Judges are always important. Yeah, there you go. Judges carry a big hammer. There's a lot of people. If you want torches and pitchforks, that's the kind of thing comes in. It does come in. View. Let's see here. Admit. Oh, is it working? Yeah. We'll give that a quick second. See if our audio connects and that kind of stuff. So we kind of outlined this last time. Here are two sides of people who are actually having their battle, right? Battle there is to establish innocence or guilt, depending on how you look at it. And when we say establish and what we mean by that, that's actually one of those pinnacle points right there from the get-go. We talked about that last time. I'm not going to spend too much time, so I'll go quick on this line. In a sense, guilt. Right. So that's going to be something that comes up. Because how is a big thing here. What we're weighing, how we're weighing it. So essentially, this to some degree prove or get support for that case. Right? As they're making their case, eventually it builds into this, but it's going to build into the individual level kind of thing. They're going to be individual details and how they stack up and get where it stacks up where you can get people to believe whatever story you're telling. Because you're always telling a story. Even these people are telling a story. Right? And that way, it's like, those of you who are thinking about law, it's like, yeah, there's a similarity across all of your classes. You do the same thing there that way. You're going to get into the field of it. You're going to get way off into the weeds. You're going to trim those things down, bring back what you got and see if it actually is something. Essentially what you do every time you do it. Go gathering. We'll get into some of those processes and that kind of stuff. First thing is that last time we talked a little bit about this. Truth, right? We talked about that in here? Okay, good. I'm in here quite a bit on Mondays and Wednesdays. So it's like, I've talked about it. I don't know if and if I ever do that, if I ever say something that doesn't seem like it makes sense, I probably didn't preface it in here. I prefaced it somewhere else and bring it up because it'll come up across a couple of classes. What that means. Judges, they're matters of law. Jury's the one of matter of fact. And one's ultimately decide that. Okay. You can see the battle between fact and truth is being played out at the same time as innocence and guilt, and it's being played out at a very, 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 very discrete level. That's important. Also, what is that? That thing right there, what is that? Average age in this room is all going to be adult. Can't tell me what that word is. Don't make me be a jerk, because I will be.
It's a quality of truth.
Okay. Some type of quality. Quality. Okay. Quality is going to be bound to truth. What else? And also associated with this other thing, we're doing it right. That's- yeah, to some degree, we're using that truth to figure out what facts are there. That's kind of the process there. Okay. As we're doing that, there is some facet of people that is of paramount importance. It's like the singular most important thing here at every step of the way. Because if we don't do that, everything goes evil really, really quick. Really quick. What is it? This thing, right? Whenever you are making your oaths, you're saying that you're going to do this thing. I was playing this a little bit in my methods class. I wanted them to see something. I want you guys to see something related to it too, because it's the same thing. Okay. Facts and truths, lies, all stuff in between. Same situation. You've heard it in other places. I actually, first place I heard it recently was online. It's like I hadn't heard that one in a while. I brought it back out too. Yeah. You guys got to pick your path, right? In life, you're gonna be presented with many. There's many there. As many as you want to make, you can carve a new one too, because you got all that kind of stuff. Well, let's just say that there is a path that's actually formed right there in front. We're gonna put two people, two paths, right? One path, other path. Each path has a person sitting beside it. One person is 100% on this thing. Can't do anything otherwise. But the other person is also 100% on this thing, but in the other direction. Can't do it otherwise. Right? How do you figure out which path to take? You know what you're telling me if you can't answer that pretty quickly? That's adding and subtracting negative numbers. We're not used to that. That's the same thing. I don't do that in here. I don't think. In methods, I kind of did that where I talk about probability. It's like, probability. Flip a coin 10 times. What's the odds you're going to get heads every single time? You say 50%. It's like, no. 1 in 1,024. It's logarithmic. People are like that. Those said something like, oh, 1 out of 100, 1 out of 50, whatever. It's like, no, 1 out of 1,000. That's how bad it is. Why people suck at gambling. Yeah, you learn how to gamble. Thank you, should. Oh, dude, it's not a good way to do it. That's a demon right there. Don't get it wrong. Somewhat to this, somewhat akin to this. People try to be this to varying degrees, is what I'm getting. Right? That's the big important thing. Some of the elements we're dealing with here are just, this is the people element to some degree. Roles to some degree, but also people here. If you were in criminal law this morning, I'm going to give you the Aesop's Fable version of that. Really, really fast. This thing right here, if you want to know what that is, that's an individual level basis thing everyone needs to like always check regularly. This is why you find those who ask a lot of questions, sometimes they're very, very, very here and there, and sometimes they're very, very, very outside. They're trying to figure things out, or they're just double checking stuff, right? It's not easy. How do you tell a good liar from an honest person? I like doing that. They look the same. That's a methods thing. They'll look the same. We use this whole process to figure it out. It takes a whole process and a whole lot of people just to figure out. It's like, how many of these things have? Who's lying here? Who's telling the truth? The person we're actually accusing here, trying to get to that. But maybe they'll speak, maybe they won't. If they do, they're going to fill that role as witness, not the role as defendant. Because that's not what defendants have to do. They don't speak at all. Yeah, go from that point of view, you mess things up again. You guys figure that one out yet? 2,000? Okay. Sometimes it helps to do it like most things that you learn, they're going to have some type of physical correlate in the real world. Aesop's Fables kind of thing. Like I said, this one's self-aligned. You'll see it on the legal system when you get into elements of the law. If you align your thoughts with your actions, they do better. They also do more. That's just one of those elements there. That's kind of a thing. Just align yourself. Self-alignment and ask questions. That kind of dig deeper. If you can't figure that one out, what you do is okay. You. What do you do? Yeah, you. What do you do? Okay. You'll be the honest person. You'll be the liar. Okay. You're standing next to the wrong path. Right? You're standing next to the right path. Doesn't matter. You can switch those paths. Right? That part can switch, but we'll do it that way just because it's easier for people. You have too many things moving, it's hard to track all that. So you're standing next to the clean path. You're standing next to the one that's going to take me off into a cliff. How am I going to figure that out? I can go down one of those paths and maybe fall to my death or get where I'm going. That's one way people do it. Right? If you're going to figure out who's being honest and who's lying, you wait over time. That sucks because that's really dangerous sometimes. Okay. Other ways. What path should I take? You're a liar.
My bad.
Yeah. What path should I take?
My bad.
Okay. What path is he going to recommend?
His path.
Okay. What path are you going to recommend?
My bad.
I figured out some differences there. If I know the negatives, the inverse of that, I now know that this is a good path. Okay. 1, 2 people, 1 fact impossible, 2 options, right? Those things together, you pull something else out. You're going to do that across everything that you're in, everywhere, all the time. You do that with people in all of your relationships when you're trying to figure out who's lying, who's not, where you sit in relation to others. So you do this stuff all the time. You just need to take that and apply it over here, right? It gets complex because when you start dealing with people, they kind of complex things. At the end of the day, it's about that individual facts. Yeah, it's about that guilt versus innocence. And we'll get into what those scales really mean here in just a second. But really, what it really should be about is it's this at the aggregate scale and how honest people can be. How many people lie to themselves every day, right? How many, I like this one. This one's from the Addams Family. I use movies a lot because people watch movies, don't read books so much anymore. Addams Family, the original ones from the movies from the 90s. Passcode 21011, eyes, fingers, toes. Right? That's what people have, 21011. No, they got 21010. Some have 11, some have 12. Some might not have any. That person doesn't have any legs at all. Like, that person doesn't have any arms. No one's related to have any arms. Really crazy to see. She was born that way. She drove with her feet, could walk her dog. Like, okay. Some extreme people out there, I don't know what to do with that. You're gonna run into some of those people in these things and have to deal with individual situations just as unique as that person is. Every single one of these things is, right? Every person who's coming through here is a person. Right? Whether you're a person here, 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 or you're the one who's going to get something stuck to them in some way or another. Keep that in mind. See it as people, see the complexity. Yes, you need to understand that because you have the overall idea of how it works, but it's not going to know exactly how it's going to work. So you're dealing right there in it. Right? All right. I think that kind of gets the idea across for on this thing right here. That's going to be a big one. You're going to make judgments about that through here, through here, through here, through here, through here. Okay. While we're talking about honesty, I'm going to ask another question. This is one that's paramount for this discussion. Who here in this list has to deal with these things? Okay, that's a big question, as in the number should be pretty big there. What are you going to say there? Who's dealing with truth and fact here? All of these people would be. Everybody's meddling, right? Everybody's meddling all the time. See my side, see my side, see my side. No, if you're doing it right tonight, I'm not going to take sides on this thing. I'm going to see what's actually going on. Okay? Who does this? I'm going to swear I'll tell the truth. Just the witnesses. No one else there. That's kind of interesting, isn't it? First thing, assume everyone's lying, even though they're telling the truth. You're going to have to shit test the ones that are telling the truth, though. Assume everyone else is lying. That's the first step. Okay? Expect that to begin with. How many of you have ever told a lie? Okay. I don't hand didn't go up. Not bad. Me down over here. Yeah. Oh yeah. I do that too. Human. Everybody does it. So you're gonna figure that out. That is one facet of it. You have much more beyond that. It's like if you really get into it, it's like I said, statutory, procedural, evidence stuff, arguments, all of those kinds of things. The whole specialized field of education. Here, the next thing I want you to focus with is going to be more systemic. That's this thing right here, because it's going to follow the same thing that I just did with those paths. Guilt and innocence. The map, right? What I did to you guys in that path, that's some type of math, isn't it? Yeah. It's logic. There's no numbers involved. You guys do that math. You guys can be logical. You can be illogical too. All of us can. I really like that part. That's where you get some of the fun stuff, right? Unpredictability and all that. That's our field, crime. If you want to look at it in general, crime doesn't occur. If you're dealing with it like people deal with money, crime doesn't occur at all. We're just going to ignore it entirely. People do that a lot, right? Money, what they do is, oh, it's no problem whatsoever. And if you really want to fix it, let's just make a few more millionaires. Now that scale balances out. Do that. That fixes all of society's problems by adding a few more Oprah Winfrey's and a few others. Right? It's like, no, it's really good to have people over on there. There are all kinds of different types of people. What you need is people to shift around to them and try to shift upwards across all. It's like, that's not the same thing. Here with this one, the easy map. It's always going to be this. To some degree. Stacks up. If you took procedures last semester, yeah, don't talk. Why? Everything you say can will be used against you. Even the stuff that you're saying, if it's going to be something that rules out other possibilities later, they'll do the inverse of it. That's what I did there with that path thing. Here, how it matters for the system and the scales. What is it our system does when we weigh these things? Guilt and innocence. We'll start there. Throughout history, we've done things a number of different ways across a number of different things. And so given a few thousand years worth of real information, so you can kind of look across and get a little bit of an idea. The way that they kind of classify it in here, I think it's in here. It's in a lot of places they do it like this, but I'm going to relate it back to this. It actually matters. They might say things like adversarial, inquisitorial kind of thing. Sometimes they'll use other terms like this stuff. But we're really talking about is this right here, the math used. Some degree processes, it's like, yeah. If I said inquisition, everyone kind of terrified a little bit. You throw that term around, it's like a real inquisition. Oh God, okay. That thing means there's more of a fight to some degree, I guess, equal footing, some degree. But really it's related to that guilt and innocence. So the easy math. Facts. Got one here. Okay, that kind of thing. Doesn't matter what the facts are, just hash mark. There's something in there. Could be anything. Okay. Do we want to just see guilt or Or 1, 2, 3, innocent. Is that what we want? You got one person shaking their head no. Or else just kind of looking at that. What am I doing wrong? Is that what you're thinking? I'm hoping that's what you're thinking. Because if that's what you're thinking, you are doing it wrong. I like putting it that way because it's not how you say that. It's like, that ain't good. I'm like, yeah, no, it isn't. Yeah. Are those things equal? Yeah. Yes, no. Why do you say no? Seen a couple people shake heads no. I'm probably going off of that truth fact thing again. Let's try what you're thinking a little bit. Yeah, I am. A little bit different direction. Right? I'll get into more of the history stuff next time I go and find my notes. I was running too much before. I hadn't had any time where I sat down and sit down with my files. So I think I've got my files over here. If I don't, I've got it on my computer somewhere. I've not got time to get into it. Or I'll show you how things have developed over time a little bit. A little bit. This one. You start to get a little bit of some religious elements in here, a little bit. Some good ways. Yeah, they come in some bad ways too. Like that's a good thing with the system. It's since you have to do that math of weighing the positives and the negatives simultaneously. So that's why you also often hear things like paradoxes or contradictions or the dualistic nature of whatever it is. Right? It's not got anything to do with that. It's like there's something going on here. What we're trying to say. You just need to pay attention. That's it. Here, yeah, there's that element of it. For any specific things, like yeah, like I did this or I didn't do that or whatever. Bigger idea. Okay. Whole big group of people. Oh my goodness. I might actually do a religious one because this is one that's just too funny not to point out. It really is. It's got nothing to do with religion itself. It's like, yeah, sometimes I can, I know most of the time I'm kind of an asshole. But it's like, I just know stuff, I read stuff sometimes. In that regard, this one, you have a group of people. These are elements that are present in it. Innocence and guilt. Those things will change to varying degrees across people, across time, across what have you. Right? Another way of looking at this is maybe people are doing right or people are doing wrong. Maybe. Right? At what point, at what scales do you need what percentages where across these two categories for society to maintain itself? I'll tell you in 10 years. Why would I tell you in 10 years? Because there's a whole lot of lies and stuff like that in society. A lot of things where people play with that landscape. And they're not letting you know they play with it because they think naivety is their power against you. And that is the case. If you're a naive, then that will be against you a lot. Here. In this system, we don't do that. We don't measure that thing at all. That seems kind of counterintuitive. It does. I'll get to that in a second. Religious tenet. Old Testament, I want to say. It's the one where deity is making decision on whether or not to destroy life in the city. How much presence of good do you need to keep it from being destroyed? One person. With what that one particular text said at one point in time. You can find the same lesson repeated in other things, other texts, even things that's like dramas and stuff. Like that's kind of a lesson in society people need to pay attention to. This one here is a huge scale to weigh. What is the value of innocence against the value of guilt? Right? What's the value of the things that you've done wrong versus the positive things that you've built? If I'm going to weigh you as a person and your value at the end of your life, you can literally stack those things up and see how they weigh. Yes? Most of us are probably not doing so hot in that area, if you really look at it honestly, right? How many of you sped on the way to here today or you're on a car, right? Oopsie. Seatbelt, ooh, drug use, sorry. Don't talk about that one, right? All those things are present. This thing right here is the thing that matters a lot. You've heard me reference, if you've been in other classes today, this name has come up, this will be the third time, Blackstone. Just Wikipedia that if you have to, right? You can read some of his works. He's English law, old. Known for the Blackstone formulation. What it is. Weigh the literal value against innocence and guilt on an abstract level in this fashion. Much longer way to get at is how he does it. No, it's much more complex. This is, yeah. I'm going to give you a parallel because I like to give parallels that are very concrete because sometimes that's the only way to get them across. In some of my other classes today, it was something of a value statement because sometimes value statements are really, really hard. In methods, it was priceless. What does it mean to be priceless? It means maybe you're so valuable you don't have a price, or maybe you're so worthless you don't. Right? How do you distinguish the two? Oh, it's the same. Same thing with lies, right? This piece of art is worth $3 million. This is a banana taped on the wall. It's worth 10 cents. That's real. That's going on right now, and people will lie to you and tell you that. Like, oh, okay, sure, convince me of that. I dare you. That's not going to work. Here, this right here is a human waste product. It has some weight to it. We have to clean that up. That's us. Hi, nice to meet you. Hopefully you're in here because you want to get in on that. That's the scale that you're in society. That's an important one. This thing's gold. One of those is a little bit heavier than the other. Right? One of those things you actually value, you actually like. How heavy is gold, by the way? You guys know? You see it depicted in movies a lot. A singular bar this big, you know how much that weighs?
15 pounds.
Yeah, it's like 40 fucking pounds. It's solid as lead. It's heavy. You're not picking it up and moving it anywhere very easily. That's why it was not exactly why it's valuable. It's one of the ways it's valuable. But yeah, see people rate it. It's like, I'm going to throw this on my book bag. It's like, no, you're not. You're going to go get a hand card. That kind of a thing. Like money, if you're all paper money. It's like, that stuff is pretty light. Yeah, much of it's pretty heavy. Like a few $1 million will fit in a box this big. It's pretty heavy. Usually they put them in other bags. Ooh, here's a good idea here. So if you want to get an idea for what that would look like, this and this as a tenant, what will come up probably more in, well, it'll come up in here a little bit probably more in criminal law when we start looking at accusation, that kind of stuff. That's the this word right here, responsibility. Right? That's going to be involved in this thing too. That's going to be underlying. It's going to be another thing. Blackstone himself, when weighing this thing, 10-1. That was the way he came up with it. He was dealing with it like it's a real tangible concept too. A lot of people do that. It's a good way to deal with it. And there'll be times I'll give you these things. I'm like, okay, deal with it like it's this thing right here. But sometimes you need that to help you understand it. 10-1. Meaning that I'd rather see 10 people guilty go free than one innocent person convicted. That's the actual way he used there. Right? That innocent person on death row that we kill, we're responsible for. The 10 murderers on death row that we let go, fucked up, we're not responsible for the deaths that they caused. We're somewhat responsible for their lives, but still they have control of their own damn actions. That's a pretty big, important element of it. That responsibility and that guilt and innocence aspect of it. You got to sew it across multiple things, though. When it comes to Benjamin Franklin, 1,000-1. Why is that so important? He's moving upward. He wants things to go better, not go worse. If you want the society to go off in rails, that'll do it. That's why they did that. When I say inquisition, that's the difference between these things. In positions, I'm trying to prove your innocence. You're guilty already. Aye. To some degree, that's the religious element too, right? Original sin, if you're looking into that one, it's like, okay, I'm responsible for someone else's actions. Maybe to some degree, not that one. I wasn't around for that one. There's no way I could affect that. That's not me. I have to deal with the after effects. That's also this field. Good luck with that. That is one of the most fundamental and most important lessons in this field. Know the value of what you're dealing with. Know what you're doing. Right? At the most abstract level, that. Right? Sort of like this. The way people form arguments and bring them against you. You don't understand the landscape. You don't understand it. You've just been presented with a mountain. You're gonna have to climb. Right? Maybe if you climb it enough, you get up high enough and see what the rest of the landscape looks like. Usually try to keep you from there. That would be like good example. Firearms. We need to control firearms because that's a danger in our society. People kill each other. Okay? Yeah, they do. That is true. Okay. Which ones are we responsible for? The people who die because we're not controlling guns, or the people who die because we are? That happens too. How many people have been in a situation where they should go get a gun, but they are completely unable to, and then before they can get their hands on one, someone else has used one against them because they'd already planned on it. That's that basic element. There's a comedian. I need to look him up because I keep referring to it. It's a great fucking joke. They'll tell you, go out there, you do your best. You go do your best. Realize while you do it, someone's going to be out there at some point in time who might purposely pick you up for whatever reason. Could be just as minor as maybe I like the shoes you're wearing, or maybe I'm just in a bad mood. Welcome to humanity. Pretty important. Make sure the math you're doing lines up. It's going to take a lot of thought from the initial steps. And sometimes it feels like you're wading out into nothing because you got to put a structure to something that's really, really difficult. That's investigation to some degree too, right? That'll happen here. Huh? Ooh, that's like a CF right there. You know, a cluster or whatever. Yeah. It's like, how many times are you going to walk into that stuff in this field? Just every single day. Just every single day. Right? Every single thing you run into for the most part. Something goes off pretty smooth. It's like, that was weird. It's not good. Don't weigh this one. It's immeasurable. When you do, society falls apart. We do it instinctually. We try to do this regularly. That's that relative thing that I was talking about. You see it regularly in terms of just being involved in this process itself. Right? Be accused. Being accused. You got some level of guilt right there. That's almost as bad as being indicted. Indicted, whenever we get in, I don't think we talked about that in here. Indicted, if you had any of the other classes. Basically, all that means is we found that there's at least the more than likely chance that you could have committed this crime. Only the prosecution got to present its case. The defense doesn't get to defend at all. They don't get to speak. So does the prosecution have enough to prove that you've done something wrong when you're held silent and unable to move? Sounds like things are kind of getting lined up against you there. If you're gonna make that judgment against somebody for that kind of stuff, make sure you know what you're doing. But you'll see that word tossed around all over the place. Look, so-and-so's indicted. Really don't care about that. Let's see how it goes.
Isn't that what a grand jury does?
Yes, it is.
They
Some
indict
states,
you.
yeah.
You
So
don't have
federal.
any defense. It's all.
Yeah, it's all.
They say.
Yes. So that's the difference between, there's two major processes.
I don't
That's,
like grand juries.
Yeah, I think that's procedures class. I have to go back and look at it. But yeah, two major processes. If you're at the state level, they might do a grand jury hearing, or they'll do an information, basically filing paperwork. Federal level, it's always a grand jury hearing, always. They'll bring in the jury, just to determine whether or not they have probable cause. The same thing an officer does on take you off the street. And that's what moves you further into the system. And you don't get to talk. Well, officer, at least listen to you, right?
Talking about two different weights, right?
Yeah.
Okay, adversarial, the way I read it, is you're innocent till you're proven guilty. So that means you got more weight on the innocent side. Now, does the inquisitorial? mean
Inquisitorial is
that
you're
you're
guilty, you have to prove your innocence.
Innocent. So there's
Mhm.
more weight on that side.
Yes. Because of the nature of the fight itself, it changed.
Okay.
Like I tell you, when you go into a fight, one, you know what you're doing, don't want to in it. Two, and try not to do it fairly, because fairly is a dangerous one. That's one where you're going to get hurt more. You'll get hurt either way. Get rid of your body. That stuff sucks. Don't do that. Right? It hurts. Also, you have a little bit in terms of Inquisitor versus adversarial is related to that fight and the things that they do during the case, and we'll get into that a little bit. But we probably won't address it in these terms because the old terms kind of thing. So I'll show you how our system works and it's classified as adversarial. These I don't really dig into too much because that's evil. I don't like that. I try to stay away from that stuff.
How's come you think that English went to the adversarial and almost the whole rest of the world went to the
Power, just straight power. It's always straight power. That's what voting is. What do you think voting is? You guys get to go establish and demonstrate your power. How many people are doing that loudly in small numbers, just trying to get attention, see how hard they can push and move a group of people? You're that group. At the end of the day, when it comes to November, if you want to do that, you don't have to call yourself a man. You can go and show, here's where I put my number. So that way we don't have to do it for real. When people talk a lot more about, yeah, that might become a real thing. No, don't do that. That's stupid. Now people do lots of stupid things. Don't get me started. I shot a whole bunch of funny stories there, including ones I've done myself, but that's a different story.
You think the Magna Carta had anything to do with the reason they went with the adversarial instead?
Huge. That one's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
So what you'll see across time, and I need to find my I have a sheet where I hand wrote it, like all these different elements. You can see it. It was from some, and I gotta figure out what that's at because that was a really valuable thing. I can't remember if I talked about the Magna Carta so much in here today or in this class last time. You do need to read it. It's one of those things that reading that will kind of give you an idea for some of the other times I might give you something to read. Okay, you need to read this thing, then you need to go read what someone else wrote about it, and you come back to this thing and see what someone else saw on it. Because there's going to be elements that you'll read, but you won't see. That one is very, very important. The fact that it has to do with basically buying and selling rights, literal rights. Okay, we're not going to make that operated on this anymore, right? So it's no longer operated on your position. We're going to operate the system itself rather than you running things. We're going to try to work together. Right? Initial stages for hey, let's find balance. Let's actually care if people are innocent. Maybe let's not enslave people too. That's part of it too, right? Because that's just another form of it. Really is. Well, the scales at play. Why we focus on the errors, right? Why we value what we do, and why sometimes the math will change. The gun one's a really interesting one because that's one that's you literally see that one. I point that one out a lot because it's now I can point to a specific lady in New Jersey who died because she was trying to get a gun to keep her violent ex-boyfriend from getting her, kind of thing. It's like, yeah, she died only because of the fact that we chose to limit her options. That's us. Him too. Don't get me wrong, but the direct interference there was us. Because she had the intent to put a stop to that. That's how that goes. Of course, we had the system that didn't work out in her favor. So a little bit sort of sound like that. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. All right, so that's a little bit about innocence and guilt. Kind of touch on responsibility. We'll spend more time on responsibility at some point because it's baked in. All right. Let's see what they have on here next. Is it here? No. Minimize it. There we go. Rules of evidence. Early methods. Right there. If you're not online, it says battle and ordeal. The phrase might makes right. Yes. At the same time, if you're really dealing with it, what is another approximate measure for might in some of these instances? The numbers, I guess, the numbers of people that break across those things. You still do that to some degree in battle. It's like battle used to do it directly. It's like whoever lives, there you go. Not the best way to do things. You guys ever watched the TV show Game of Thrones? Okay, there's a scene in there where there's a trial by combat kind of thing. Guy with the big spear spinning and that kind of stuff. You remember that? No? Yeah. At some point in time, he looks like he's winning, but he's fighting a guy called the Mountain. Crushes his skull. It's like, yeah, that's how that works. Whoever's the biggest, doesn't matter how evil they are, they win so long as they really
Yeah,
want.
he got cocky.
Yeah,
He thought he was a big
Yeah.
shot because he had the guy down, but
Yeah,
he
he had
didn't
him
put him
down, yeah.
out, and then he got him.
He had him down, he had him out, he had him poisoned, so he's gonna die anyway. He leans over to make fun of him. Next thing you know, oh, there goes your skull. It's gonna pop like a balloon. Because they did that great. It's like it wouldn't really look like that, but as far as I've seen. No, I'm kidding that. But yeah, that's true. Cool. I don't know, presentment of petty juries. I don't actually remember that. I'll jump back into that one next time. I feel like that. Witchcraft. How many of you ever know? Have you ever heard of something called the witch's spot? You ever heard of witch's spot? This is a really cool one. Okay, alleged evidence of witchcraft is permitted by courts. That's a little bit different than the witch's spot. Witch's spot is the social side of it. It's going to be even more extreme. Okay, so all the ways that we used to identify people as witchcraft, it's like you've already heard about Salem witch trials and all that kind of stuff. The witch's spot's a nice little way they used to do it. The theory is there that because they were in league with the devil, there's some part of their body that they're completely immune to pain. I can find it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start slicing on you until you no longer react to pain. Every one of you here has a certain pain, actually just input tolerance. After a certain amount of pain, you don't feel anything at all anymore. You'll still be alive, yeah, but no, not really, right? And then that's your just going to killing you. So they're just going to torture you to the point where you can't feel any more pain. And then, obviously, a witch, you're done. Kind of tough. There's a whole bunch of stuff like that. That'd be like me telling you about the, what do they call it? It wasn't the saddle, it wasn't the horse, it was something like that. Great big pyramid. What they do is they set a person on top, and all they do is they're just going to add weights to your legs until you split. It's a pyramid. Think Vlad the Impaler, but it's not a log, it just keeps getting wider. Yeah, people are cruel, people are evil, right? And that's why this is so important. That's why the Magna Carta, when it comes in, King was forced to sign it. Yeah, there you go. I don't want to give up. No longer want to treat people as the product of who they are, but we're going to try to treat things similarly. We'll jump to habeas corpus. That's got to do with showing the body. Yeah. Arrests and stuff like that. It's too big of a jump. I don't want to jump there just yet. Magna Carta has to be probable cause. That stuff's in there. The biggest element stuff about the buying and sharing of rights and privileges. Let's see what else is there. Some other people I'll bring up whenever I bring in the history stuff. One I think I mentioned it here last time. It's Justinian the Great. He's one of those examples. Well, they'll go through and they'll create a code from what's already been taking place. Ideally, what they've done there, he did all the stuff that comes up regularly in the area that I'm over. All the different ways we handle that. What worked? Let's handle it that way. It's not really super hard, but it does take a lot of work. You just have to know why you're doing it, I guess. And you'll figure out the rest. That's the big thing. Okay, we're about out of time. We got 3 minutes. No, I can't. I have to get more into that. That's a complex one. Declaration of Independence rejects the divine rights of kings. That's a big one. Inalienable rights is consent of the government. I'll talk about the inalienable rights part of it. We'll talk about arguments and landscapes, because that's one that's going to come up a lot when we talked about Bill of Rights last time. We'll go to 3 minutes. Okay. Whose rights are they in the Bill of Rights? What I mean by that is it says we the people. So there's some kind of ambiguity by what we mean by that, right? Do we mean we as in the collective? Do we mean we as in any particular group? Or do we mean we as in those in charge? Or do we mean we as in you, the individual? That is it. That is. Every single one of those things applies to you just as well as it applies to everything else. But ideally, one will interpret it that way. It's yours. You're the one who has that right, not someone else. But you will routinely see that that is an argument that comes up regularly. So I point to that going to say that one's the one, because the reason why that comes up is that way is because it's deadly. It's literally deadly. And so it's one of the most grievous things there. You can see how we handle it. Is it your right to have that, or is it just that we need to have that function in society? Well, police already have a gun. Police are the people. Only the police need guns. Okay, so only the government needs guns. Only the government needs guns. The government recognizes only government needs guns. That doesn't make sense. That's the argument. I don't get it. Right? It's this thing. It's exerting control over things. When you learn to let things go, it's like water. I can hold a lot more water in my hand like this than I can like this. That's freedom. That's growth. That's life. That's everything in your life right now. Have fun. We're done for today. Cool? All right.
You ever see that movie? When they buy him the Holy Grail?
That's what I was thinking about.
Which is-
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking about.
If she does it, they were sitting there trying to figure it out.
She's the weight of a duck. Yes.
That's exactly.
Yeah, and whenever it happens, she's like, "Yeah, well, you know, fair enough." She's like, "I am a witch, and you yeah. That's not okay.
It's like, that's what witch trials were. If they didn't like you, they
Yeah.
did something to you.
Yeah. You might actually have a witch.
Right. They made-
Sometimes too.
I thought that was pretty funny. That's what I thought of when you said that.
That's like, well, whenever that came up, that's literally what I was thinking of too. 'Cause it's like, yeah, that's exactly what people do. That's why comedians are so damn funny.
Yeah,
They go right to those contradictions and they hit them in a way that you can't really ignore.
but I think the problem with us is we're old.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm old. You're not that old. But
I don't know.
kids, the younger people don't see these movies and they don't get the
Yeah.
connection. I think.
It's like Field of Dreams. How many of them seen Field of Dreams?
I don't think I've ever
Oh,
watched that all the way through.
That's a great one. That's Kevin Costner. If you believe they will come.
I kind of know what it is, but I'm not
Yeah.
a big baseball, and it's
It's got nothing to do with baseball. Baseball's a
really,
vehicle.
really it does.
Yeah, it's that one's about a guy connecting with his dead
Yeah.
father from heaven, and they
Yeah.
were literally coming into his field. It's really an amazing film. But yeah, here, let me.
I have a quick question about this.
Yeah. What's up?
I just want to make sure. So I mean, I know it says nothing.
Yeah.
And it says something due tonight. So I just want to.
No, there's nothing to do tonight. Yeah, no, nothing to do tonight. The reason why I did this is, as you know, I move real slow in the early stuff because I'm going higher detail. And when they start moving into, it's like, of course, these are an alien. Like,
Yeah.
this is what consent of the government. I've already been talking about it to some degree, so it will pick up pace.
Okay.
The quiz itself, what I'll probably do is make that available, the first one, probably this week, just to know how my time frame's going. But another way that I kind of do it is it's kind of what people in the past start. It'll actually be in here kind of thing. If you watch the video, it's like, okay, here's the point in time where I need you to send me an email entitled it this, that kind of thing. So we'll get it one way or another. And if there's ever one that comes up that you don't have, just come and ask. We'll sit down and take a look.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, no, you're
Thanks
cool.
so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. All right. Take care. All right. Adios. I'll see you later.